There was a time when silence felt normal, before the constant movement, before the glowing screens, before thousands of voices began following us everywhere. Now, most people wake up already exhausted, not physically, mentally, emotionally, and almost nobody understands why. Because the problem is not simply stress, it is something far deeper. Your brain was never designed to process this much reality at once. Notifications, scrolling, noise, conversations, news, music, advertising, artificial light, endless information without pause. And at first, the brain adapts. That is the dangerous part. Because overstimulation does not immediately feel harmful. Sometimes it feels productive, distracting, even comforting. But slowly, something strange begins to happen. People stop feeling fully present. Music no longer hits the same. Moments blur together. Even beautiful experiences begin to feel strangely distant. And most people assume this means they are tired. But the real reason is far more unsettling. The nervous system never fully exits survival mode anymore, even during rest, even at night. The brain remains partially alert, waiting for the next signal, the next vibration, the next interruption. And after enough time, the mind begins protecting itself in the only way it can, by lowering emotional sensitivity. Which is why so many people today feel emotionally numb without understanding why. Not broken, not empty, just overloaded. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. Your brain still remembers another state, a slower state, a quieter one, a state hidden beneath the noise. And occasionally, people accidentally reconnect with it. During long rainstorms, late-night drives, ocean waves, mountain air. Moments where the world suddenly becomes slower than the mind. And for a brief second, the nervous system remembers what safety feels like again. This is why certain sounds feel strangely emotional, why distant thunder can calm the body, why rain against glass can feel almost hypnotic, why silence in nature feels different from silence in a room. The brain recognizes these environments as ancient, predictable, safe. And when that happens, something remarkable begins to return. Attention, breath, emotion, presence. The feeling of finally arriving inside your own mind again. Maybe the modern world did not destroy our ability to feel calm. Maybe it simply buried it beneath too much noise. And somewhere underneath all of it, your mind is still waiting to become quiet again. Most people today are tired before the day even begins. Not after work, not after stress, before. You wake up and somehow your mind already feels crowded. Before the coffee, before the conversations, before anything difficult has even happened. And slowly, people began accepting this as normal. The exhaustion, the mental noise, the inability to fully relax. But something strange happened over the last decade. Human beings stopped experiencing true silence. Not external silence, internal silence. Because now, even quiet moments are filled with stimulation. You stand in line and reach for your phone. You sit in a car and immediately play something. Music, podcasts, scrolling, videos, messages, news, notifications. The brain no longer experiences transitions anymore, only constant input. And at first, this feels harmless, even enjoyable. A quick distraction, a small dopamine hit, something to avoid boredom for a few seconds. But the brain was never designed for uninterrupted stimulation, especially not at this speed. thousands of tiny signals, every hour, every day. And the strangest part is, most of them feel emotionally insignificant. A notification, a headline, a vibration, a random video, a half-read message, information your brain never needed. Yet the nervous system still reacts to all of it. Every sound, every interruption, every unpredictable signal. Tiny stress responses, again and again and again, until the body slowly forgets the difference between stimulation and danger. This is why so many people feel exhausted, even when physically doing very little. Because exhaustion is not always created by movement. Sometimes it is created by constant alertness. And modern life trains the brain to remain alert almost all the time, even during rest, especially during rest. Have you noticed how difficult it has become to simply sit still? Not because people are lazy, because stillness now feels unfamiliar to the nervous system, sometimes even uncomfortable. People reach for stimulation automatically, without thinking. A phone, a notification, anything to avoid empty space for more than a few seconds. And most people never realize what this is actually doing to the brain. Because overstimulation does not always feel intense. Sometimes it feels subtle, like background static that never disappears. But the nervous system keeps listening to it anyway, waiting, scanning, preparing for the next interruption. And eventually, the brain stops fully powering down, even at night. This is why so many people wake up tired after sleeping. The body rested, but the nervous system never truly stopped monitoring the environment. It remained partially activated, partially vigilant, partially prepared. Survival mode no longer looks like panic. Sometimes it looks like endless low-level stimulation. And after some time, the brain adapts to this state so completely that calmness itself begins to feel unfamiliar. Most people have forgotten what deep calm actually feels like. Not entertainment, not distraction, not collapsing onto the couch while scrolling through videos. Real calm. The kind where the nervous system finally stops scanning the world for the next interruption. And strangely, many people today experience that state only a few times a year. Sometimes during a thunderstorm, a long night drive, a quiet ocean, or those rare moments late at night when the world suddenly becomes softer and slower for no obvious reason. Because beneath all the stimulation, the brain still remembers another mode of existence, a much older one. Scientists sometimes describe these moments as theta states, slow brainwave patterns connected to deep relaxation, memory, dreaming, creativity, and emotional processing. But most people have actually experienced this state before without realizing it, right before falling asleep, right before dreaming begins. That strange in-between space where thoughts loosen their grip on reality, where time feels different, where memories drift in and out without effort, where the mind stops trying to control everything. This is sometimes called the hypnagogic state, the doorway between waking and dreaming. And for thousands of years, human beings naturally entered this state through rhythm, silence, firelight, rain, ocean waves, repetitive sound, night travel, distant wind, and long periods without interruption. But modern life rarely allows the brain to descend that deeply anymore, because every time the mind begins slowing down, something pulls it back up. A vibration, a notification, a glowing screen, another burst of information. The nervous system is constantly dragged back toward alertness.
And after enough years, many people forget the feeling of mental spaciousness entirely, which is why moments of real stillness can feel strangely emotional now, almost unfamiliar. Sometimes people sit beside the ocean and suddenly feel overwhelmed without understanding why, or hear rain at night and feel something inside them soften immediately. Not because the sound itself is magical, but because the nervous system recognizes ancient patterns hidden beneath the noise. Predictable rhythms, natural movement, safe environments. For a few brief moments, the brain stops defending itself against the world, and something deeper begins to emerge. Attention returns. Breathing slows naturally. Thoughts lose their sharp edges. The body stops preparing for danger that never arrives. And underneath all the overstimulation, people rediscover something modern life slowly buried: presence. Not productivity, not performance, presence. Imagine being deeply relaxed for the first time again. Not distracted, not sedated, not escaping, just completely safe inside your own mind. That forgotten state still exists. Most people have simply not visited it in a very long time.
Bienvenido. La selva permanece despierta. Respira. Escucha. Todo se mueve lentamente en la oscuridad. No necesitas entender la noche, solo sentirla. El sonido de la selva comienza a entrar lentamente en tu mente, como un sueño antiguo. Escucha los sonidos ocultos entre los árboles, las emociones que permanecían en silencio, los pensamientos escondidos bajo el ruido del día. La selva no lucha contra su oscuridad, la abraza, y dentro de ti algo comienza lentamente a abrirse. deja que la noche revele lo que has estado guardando. Sin miedo, sin resistencia, solo presencia. Necesita ser escuchado. Los sonidos ocultos, las emociones ocultas, la parte salvaje dentro de ti. La mente deja de controlar, el cuerpo comienza a escuchar y algo dentro de ti finalmente empieza a soltarse. No huyas de la oscuridad. Dentro de ella también existe calma. Respira, escucha y permanece aquí un poco más. La noche continúa respirando. Y tú también. Bienvenido. La selva permanece despierta. Respira, escucha. Todo se mueve lentamente en la oscuridad. No necesitas entender la noche, solo sentirla. El sonido de la selva comienza a entrar lentamente en tu mente, como un sueño antiguo. Escucha los sonidos ocultos entre los árboles, las emociones que permanecían en silencio, los pensamientos escondidos bajo el ruido del día. No necesitas entender la noche, solo sentirla. El sonido de la selva comienza a entrar lentamente en tu mente, como un sueño antiguo. Escucha los sonidos ocultos entre los árboles, las emociones que permanecen